Hi, my name is Julie Ruse, and I'd love to share a chapter of my story. So after graduating from college, I got my first job in Aspen, Colorado, working at an architecture firm. It was pretty much a dream job. Aspen is the playground for the rich and famous, and I studied interior design, so I got to be involved with designing high-end residential buildings, and things were going great. I had a great church, a great support group and friends, and it's just kind of like living in a snow globe, just a magical little home in the mountains. And then one day I unexpectedly lost that job just out of the blue, and it was kind of earth-shattering. Thankfully, I had a severance package, so I had a little cushion of time, and I went out to my grandma's place and really sought the Lord out in the middle of the lake in my canoe, just sort of evaluating what direction my life was supposed to go now. And I wrote out my dreams and my goals, and through all that, the Lord gave me a huge peace to move to Florida. And God totally led me to Redemption Church, which is another story. And then soon after I started coming to Redemption Church, Jason, who's the director of the House of Blessing Orphanage, came to visit. Now, one of the dreams that I had written out for my life before I moved here was to serve orphans in some capacity someday. So Jason and his story, his testimony really caught my attention. We sat next to each other at community group, and he spoke on Sunday morning. So I was excited to hear that our church was planning a short-term missions trip there, and I applied and got my references and felt the Lord's go-ahead to proceed in that direction. But then the trip sort of fell through because I was the only one who applied. So I thought, it really seemed like, that was God's setting everything up, but, oh well, I did my part and the ball's in God's court, and if it's not this trip, I'm sure He has something else for me, so just proceeded with life. And then one day, all these things that people had said at different times in my life sort of aligned, and that's when I got the idea, why don't I just go by myself down to Mexico for the summer? So I started pursuing that, and everything just fell into place so amazingly. I got out of my lease several months early for my apartment. My parents were totally on board. The finances came in double of what I was aiming for, which actually ended up being what I needed, that I didn't know that I needed at the time. I emailed Jason just with the idea that, hey, I'm interested in doing an internship. I didn't even know they did internships. I didn't know that was a thing, but he replied that, yeah, he was just thinking about summer interns, and I had actually even come to mind. And so it was just so amazing how each step led to the other step. Because I majored in interior design, I got the job in Aspen and really honed those type of design skills. And then because of the being let go, that launched me to Florida, where working for my aunt with starting a new business, I really picked up marketing skills that I didn't have before that way. And then with that contract ending and me learning about the orphanage, now there I'm able to apply all those design skills and do a lot of their graphics and photography, video, interior design with all the new construction of buildings. They have a lot of property that they want to develop one day, that it's growing by leaps and bounds. There's so much potential. So I'm just continually in awe of God's sovereign hand and how He directs our lives if we submit to that, if we ask Him to. So I was blown away as I slowly realized that my passion for design and background and training could all be applied to minister to these people that I've come to know and love. It reminds me of a verse in the book of Ruth, actually. So Ruth finds herself in a foreign country, away from all her blood family and her culture and her old religion, and she finds herself picking up scraps off the ground for food. And there's this beautiful verse that says, as it turned out, she was in the field of a man named Boaz. And I just love that, as it turned out. A lot of times we can't see what God is doing in the moment. But in those times we can trust that He's working on our behalf behind the scenes and stacking the deck in our favor, and just trust that it'll all work out in the end. So during my time in Mexico, my faith grew exponentially because I was in a position where I needed God. I totally had to rely on Him. I'm getting more and more comfortable being uncomfortable, I guess you could say. I'm learning that God will let me know what I need to know, when I need to know it, and to just take the next step. That's all He calls me to, is just to be willing and obedient, and I know I can trust Him.